Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're still ahead on LTV International and in our breakfast show of today, and in continuation with our exerted efforts, or Egypt's exerted effort to support the Palestinian cause. The Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati had announced with the UN Special Coordinator Sigrid Cage that Egypt will host an international conference for reconstruction of Gaza. But there are so many questions or to be raised here after we just listen to the construction or the reconstruction of Gaza. Who's going to be invited to the such conference? How the UN will support such conference with Egypt, as the United States is still ahead for supporting or blind support for Israel and for Israeli rights and for displacement of the Palestinian. Also so many questions, the challenges for hosting such a conference. We're trying to focus on this with our interview right away with our dear guest, Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning, sir.
To you.
Good pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, the exerted efforts of Egypt for supporting the Palestinian cause are still really continuing on all domains, on all international levels. So when we announced that Egypt will host the international conference for reconstruction of Gaza, it's not the first time for hosting such conference. So what's your take on this first, after hearing the for hosting such international conference first?
Well, actually, it goes a long way ever since we started. I mean, I will not talk about history, what Egypt has done to the Palestinians since the first occupation, since the Nakba, and when we went into war to try to establish a Palestinian state on their historic land. What I want to talk about is ever since the 7th of October and the Egyptian efforts towards bringing peace to the Palestinians and sparing their life at the same time. This role, or this new initiative by Egypt, as presented by His Excellency Dr. Badr Abdelati, proves that the consistency of Egypt in the same way that we've been doing ever since this war have erupted. However, it looks to me a little bit absurd, the whole situation. The Egyptian position, as I said, is consistent. Egypt has always been trying to help Palestinians with everything. This new conference that Egypt is planning to host on the reconstruction goes in the same direction. But of course, I mean, we have to put in consideration what we just heard about regarding the meeting of President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
It looks absurd.
Ago. Yeah.
It looks absurd and actually incoherent what we are hearing from the American administration, from President Trump, to the point that many Israeli officials are saying that what Mr. Trump is offering now has surpassed the Israeli dreams themselves. I mean, here we are in a situation, we have been always accusing the United States of being an accomplice to Israel. The United States now is moving one seat forward to try to be the main player in the region, even more than the Israelis themselves. As we see it on your screen right now, these waves of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians going back to the ruins of their house shows how insisting they are on living on their land, and yet we see President Trump speaking about evacuating again the Gaza Strip on the account of Egypt and Jordan, and that, as he said, he is confident that Egypt and Jordan are going to accept this. And here, I mean, there is something that comes to my mind. Is President Trump really, I mean, did he got note of the Egyptian position set by His Excellency the President himself? Is he aware of the Jordanian position set by the King himself? I mean, it's like he is in another dimension, not realizing exactly what the situation really is in the region. And not just that. I mean, the idea of evacuating Gaza, I mean, he does not comprehend that the idea of the Gazans is not to find a safe place to live in. This could be solved decades ago if this was the idea. The idea is that those people want to live on their own land, which is according to the international law, to human rights, to every single religion in the world, is a right. It is not a given. It is a right. It's not a bless that you will grant them. But as I said, not just that. I mean, we are reading also about new projects of law in the Congress and in the Senate in the United States to change officially the name of the West Bank, or to prohibit calling the West Bank, and going back to Judea and Samaria, which is the Israeli name, to once again give Israel the right to evacuate the West Bank. This is a full blow to the whole peace process and what peace means. I am really shocked from the declarations of President Trump with Mr. Netanyahu, to the point that Mr. Netanyahu couldn't find good words to describe how good President Trump is for Israel, and that he is the best friend of Israel ever. Mr. Trump has very good intentions towards the Palestinians, I believe, but he doesn't really know how to put them in the same way of the wishes of the Palestinians themselves. They are the ones who should be asked. The faith and the future of the Palestinians should not be decided in a meeting between President Trump, the American president, and the Prime Minister Netanyahu, the war criminal who is supposed to be in The Hague according to the International Criminal Court. No, this should be discussed with the Palestinians themselves, and I believe that all of them, although the differences they have spoken, have proven, have shown the world that they are insisting on staying on their land. It is not about finding a safe place. They could have immigrated long ago during at least the massacres that ravaged the Gaza Strip since the 7th of October, but they didn't. So they will definitely not do it today. I don't know exactly what is the real plans behind those initiatives, absurd initiatives I see, but we will wait and see, and I think that the only solution now is that we have to have a summit. I think the Arab leaders have to be talking to President Trump directly, just like Mr. Netanyahu, and I believe that we have very soon a meeting in the White House with our dear President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as well as the King of Jordan himself, who is supposed to meet President Trump the 11th of this month. So let's hope that we can at least explain to President Trump the real situation, because it seems that he's not really
Yes,
getting the right
Ambassador
information about the
Meligi,
situation.
Ambassador Meligi, good morning to you. You just mentioned the role that there must be a conference by the Arab leaders. I would like you to tell me more about this and tell me more about the role of the United Nations as well.
Well, what I'm thinking about is that since President Trump is not getting the right information, because I can't believe that after President Sisi and the King of Jordan have repeatedly explained that this is unacceptable. The leaders in Europe, I'm talking about Germany and about France, the biggest two countries in Europe, who have said that this is unacceptable. The United Nations, by the Secretary General and the General Assembly, who have on several occasions spoken about the legitimate right of the Palestinians. So I can't believe that President Trump is really receiving this news, and nevertheless he's coming with this initiative about, once again, peacefully, between brackets, moving and displacing the Palestinians to another land. So I think that we have to have a first-hand talk with President Trump. The Arab side, they should choose like a committee of presidents and heads of state to go and talk to President Trump and explain to him the real situation, that this cannot be done the way he thinks he can do it. This is not an entrepreneur idea. This is a right of the people in their land. I mean, the idea is of telling someone, okay, your house is not a good house, here, take this house in another place, in another land, and make it your house. This is an absurd idea. Because
it's a terrible issue, actually, Your Excellency, and referring once again to what you've mentioned and referring to the press conference between President Donald Trump and the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as he's been the first foreign leader to be received in the White House after Trump had took office. So it's of course had so many messages and importance as well. Number one. Number two, receiving Benjamin Netanyahu as a victorious leader over there, and he had mentioned this, Trump, in the beginning of the press conference. Number three, in an answer concerning the two-state solution to Donald Trump, he said, I don't know, there is no two states, no one state, there is nothing called so. And he mentioned again what he proposed for Egypt and Jordan to really host the Palestinians, because Gaza is really not ready and is a very bad place for the Palestinians to live in. So it's better to go to other places, to the Arab neighbors, to our neighbors over there in the Middle East, and to live over there. So what's your comment and analyze for this? Once again.
Well, I think that the idea lays in the background of President Trump. President Trump originally is not a politician, and we all know that. Everybody has admitted that. He is a businessman originally. And that's why he's talking from a perspective that is different from the perspective of politicians. Businessmen always try to see where can they get the benefit from.
Yeah, that's why he tried to launch the trade war on Gaza and on China, Mexico, and on all the
Canada
and the European.
No, I'm talking about his political views on issues.
Yeah, he's handling out of being a businessman.
He's talking from a perspective of a businessman and how he can make any deal profitable. Speaking, I mean, from a manner that is related only to benefits and not taking into consideration history or geography or even people emotions. It's like, and that's why I mean I think that he and the Israelis are totally on the same length wave, because if you remember during the war, the number of Israelis who fled Israel, hundreds of thousands of Israelis have left Israel due to the war, because they are not attached to the land. While look at the waves of Palestinians who went back to the ruins of their homes in northern Gaza. I mean, this shows exactly what I'm talking about, is that are you attached to the land, or you are attached to just wherever I'm going to get a better life? The idea is not to get a better life, or the Palestinians have left the country long ago, ever since the Nakba in 1948 and beyond, but they didn't. So this is the idea. This is why Mr. Trump keep on talking this way, because he thinks that if I don't find a place that is good for me, I will just immigrate to another place that is better. This is as simple as that. This is how he sees it. And that's why he feels that he is confident. Of course, we have to understand that Mr. Trump coming after a second victory. Some analysts didn't think that this might happen after the first term. And he comes back feeling that he is blessed, that he can say anything and people will accept it. But let's go back to the reality. The reality is that we are going to see a very hard time trying to convince Mr. Trump with the notion of the Palestinians. And I think that the Palestinians have to do their homework. This is the first step towards anything. We cannot start negotiating with Mr. Trump with the Palestinians divided as they are between the PA on one side and the PLO, and on the other side we have the Palestinian resistance movement. This cannot go on. The Palestinians have to be united against their common enemy. And the common enemy is Israel and the United States now, that is planning to take even Gaza to itself and not to give it to Israel, as if this will make a difference, switching from one occupier to the other. So now the Palestinians, more than ever, if they really want their land, they have to be united. Or the idea of Mr. Trump maybe one day will be a success, but not on the Egyptian and Jordanian land, but maybe somewhere else, maybe in Indonesia, as he said, or any other country that might accept the Palestinian, because if they will continue to be divided the way they are, then they are losing their case. They have to be united. This is the first and foremost thing that has to be done now. The plans are quite clear. It's not in our favor, and we have to wake up and see the realities of things. We have to do that, or else we are totally lost.
Ambassador Meligi, I would like to ask you about the challenges that Egypt is foreseeing now in mobilizing international support for the Palestinian cause.
This is the question?
The challenges that Egypt is facing now in mobilizing the international support.
We have a lot of challenges. I mean, of course, there is a lack of a real and serious political horizon presented to the Palestinians. Yes. And that's why, although the intentions of Egypt, you have to have a foundation for it. And the foundation should be a Palestinian land. We are trying, we are gathering the international forces and influences in the world to help the Palestinians. But nevertheless, where is that going to be? I mean, we didn't even start phase 2 of the negotiations, and God knows how this is going to be done in the light of the new declarations of President Trump and Netanyahu in Washington. So we have to be ready and prepared for a serious peace process. But the idea is, who are we going to talk to? And we should not be talking in a void, in a vacuum. We have to be talking when things are done. I mean, we're not done with phase 2 and 3 and securing a long-lasting peace in Gaza. And not to mention, of course, the West Bank, that more and more villages are being attacked by the Israelis. There will be no country that is willing to help unless there is a long-lasting peace in Gaza. So, I mean, do we have a guarantee that Israel will not once again sabotage the deal on the table in order to resume its war, whether they take their hostages or not? Because we've seen during the 15 months of aggression, we've seen that they do not really care about their hostages. The hostage was just a reason for their war crime and liquidation of the Palestinian cause as they want to. So where is it going to be, since we don't really have a peace on the land? Who is going to help? Egypt is ready. We have asked our friends all over the world, and they are ready, but we have to secure peace first, or a long-lasting truce, before we start to whether help the Palestinians. I mean, we are not talking about humanitarian aid. We are talking about the reconstruction of Gaza. We are talking one step ahead. But in order to do so, we have to have a peace. And this, I don't see the Israelis committed to peace the way we are committed to it.
Yeah, and that's why it's really challengeable.
Optimistic.
Yeah, and that's why it's a challengeable method, actually, or challengeable mission for Egypt to secure peace and security in the Middle East, and concerning the peace and ceasefire in Gaza and the reconstruction process in Gaza Strip. Your ambassador, Your Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meligi, Foreign Minister, former Assistant Foreign Minister, many thanks for your insights and analysis, and have a nice day.